Hi everyone. Well, welcome back to my channel, I guess. So, I love reading books. Currently, I'm out of my reading slump and I just love watching like author-tube, booktubers. And I realized like Katytastic, who I followed a lot back in the day, has not posted in over a year and it's always so depressing for me to see. Anyways, then I was just like I need some content and I like to consume as well. Um so now I went to her Tumblr and I was like, okay, at least she has a Tumblr because I recently got a Tumblr like only this year. And I'm like, wow, I'm 23 years old and I only just got Tumblr. I missed out on all the teenage angst and the phases. And honestly, that was a good thing because technology sucks. The internet is a wild place. So, good for me. Anyway, I was scrolling through her Tumblr and then I came across a person. I was like, oh my goodness, how messy. So, I mean, this is not like any hate or anything. I was just like, okay, I hope I can clarify some things. Okay, so yeah, it starts off here. I think her Tumblr is Cat After Hours, and she just reposted. Sorry, I use Twitter slang a lot because I used to be obsessed with Twitter. So, from Ultra Facts, in ancient Egypt, any books found in ships coming into port would be brought immediately to the Library of Alexandria and be copied. The original would be kept in the library and the copy given back to the owner, which is just hilarious. But then my issue is with the comments that come afterwards. So every time someone brings up the Library of Alexandria, I get so angry. And I get it, it burned down, all the knowledge is gone, which, I mean, it could be a bad thing, of course. I like to look at things from a religious perspective. So yeah, it was a bad thing because a lot of knowledge was gone, but it could also just be a good thing, like it was just meant to happen. You know, when bad things happen in our lives, sometimes it was just meant to happen for character development, etc., etc. So the next comment is, but why? And because it burnt down, all that knowledge is lost forever. So now my issues with this post, and I mean, of course, if she reposted it, it's like, okay, you're backing this up. So start off, well, the scale, just think about it. We could have been exploring the galaxy by now. And it's like we've been exploring the galaxy. Our own oceans have been undiscovered. Like, I think 70% of it is still undiscovered, yeah. But it's like we're so like in such a hurry to go to space. And I mean, it's only like last week or 2 weeks ago that they were like, okay, guys, aliens are real. We have aliens in Area 51 or something, which is so messy. But it's like, can we just get over exploration and stuff? Like we've got issues on our own land. Why do we want to go and discover more planets to like mess up? I think we discovered ice on Mars like decades ago. Like, what are we going to do about it? And honestly, if it wasn't for, I think, this period here, like, so what? Who cares? Honestly, we don't need to go and explore other places. I mean, we can if we want to, but it's like the Christian Dark Ages isn't something that we should all like hate on. And I've noticed, well, we've all noticed, like white people just love to hate on themselves. Like they'll be like, a bunch of white women will be like, oh, you know, white supremacist white man, privileged white male. And it's like, let people enjoy their privilege. Let's just leave people alone at this stage because it's like you've got a lot of privilege to be able to say that. But honestly, the Christian Dark Ages, that's just like horrible conception. Anyway, so it goes on to say the library was destroyed over 1,000 years ago. Okay, over thousands of years ago. The library consisted of thousands of scrolls and books about mathematics, engineering, physiology, geography, blueprints, medicine, plays, and important scriptures. That one makes me a bit salty. Okay, you know, I actually do kind of agree with it. Thinkers from all over the Mediterranean used to come to Alexandria to study. Most of the major works of civilization up until that point was lost. If the library still survived till this day, society may have been more advanced and we would know more about the ancient world. I totally agree. Anyway, so then everyone just goes on to make jokes, which honestly is so funny. Julius Caesar is the cause of this, to be precise, the Romans who burnt down the Library of Alexandria. Remember this when you're conquering, keep the books. This hurts my heart so much every time it's brought up. Julius Caesar needs to be stabbed for this reason. I know we should totally stab Julius Caesar. It's so funny. And then stab Caesar Day. Anyway, so then this talk made me think, like, were the Dark Ages really like that bad? Who even came up with the Dark Ages? Because I always just was like, it's the medieval ages. So then there's this video. I mean, I really like it. And it just goes over like, let's not be so ignorant about our time.
So let's get one thing ironed out right off the bat here. My goal here is to help you complexify and add nuance to your view of the Middle Ages. They were not, in fact, the Dark Ages, which is honestly just a bullshit term made up during the Enlightenment era to make those writers feel good about themselves. It was a period of 1,000 years, guys. Use your heads. The fact is that, in many ways, we're not superior to the people past eras, and certainly not the Middle Ages. A lot of the problems that we criticize medieval people for are still problems that our society deals with today. Anti-Semitism, racism. A great deal of how we perceive the Middle Ages hinges on a view of the period created by philosophers and historians during the Enlightenment period, all the way through the Victorian era, but more recent and evidence-based research actually rebukes a lot of what we formerly held to be historical canon. As History Today writes, the term Dark Ages found a foothold in the 17th and 18th centuries, with historians like Edward Gibbon writing about the darkness of the period, and reached its peak in the mid-19th century as, with a fervent belief in the dawn of a modern age, a growing empire needed to build a dark past from which to emerge. The Dark Ages cling to Victorian ideals. This period of nearly 1,000 years was, in fact, not as dark as you think it was, especially when you leave the realm of Europe. Anyways, let's get into it.
Okay, so that was just really interesting to hear about, because it's like even now we romanticize the past. Like people are going back to the 90s, the 2000 Y2K. So I mean, it's just a way of life. We are just living the way that we just like to romanticize the past and live in nostalgia. But I guess back then they just like to demonize the past, and it's like we progress differently in different eras for a reason. So yeah, I just thought it was interesting to bring up. Please let me know your thoughts on the Tumblr post, and if you have any comments, thank you.